Away from election matters to updates on Tuesday, disturbing explosion in Oyo State. Governor Makinde has assured that those responsible for the incident will be punished. He spoke at a media briefing with security and emergency agencies in Ibadan, where he also confirmed that the explosion affected about 25 kilometers away from the scene. Well, I'm joined now by the head of the emergency medical team, Professor Temitope Alunge, for more updates on this development. Prof, thank you for talking to us. What's the current situation right now with the injured at the hospital?
Well, thank you very much. Following the blast, the University College Hospital Ibadan actually triggered off the emergency response. And I've been a part of that for the past 15 years, along with Professor Olakwa. So we awaited the client or the people that were involved. So we mobilized about 40 medical doctors, 60 nurses, and then some medical students and student nurses, med lab scientists, blood bank. And whilst we waited, we only saw about 12 patients. Well, when it was getting a little bit later, we came into the site and then found out that some of the clients had been taken to various hospitals. But I can tell you that as at yesterday, there were 77 patients that were accounted for in the private hospitals and the University College Hospital. But as of this morning, more than half of that number have been discharged for minor injuries. 5 patients were managed at the University College Hospital for relatively moderate injuries, including 2 chest traumas, for which we put in a chest tube, and an open fracture of the tibia and fibula in an elderly, middle-aged woman, and a young boy with a head injury, and I think another one with a minor chest complaint. Whereas the private hospitals are managing relatively minor scalp lacerations, and as of today, we're quite happy that many of the clients in the private hospitals have been discharged, and like I said, the major ones in the University College Hospital are responding to treatment. Now, what has happened yesterday was to initiate a more extensive search and rescue. Unfortunately, as at yesterday, we had 3 fatalities, and we were able to relate with our forensic pathologist, Dr. Eze, who took charge of the forensic pathology segment in the hospital. But this morning, he had to join us at the search and rescue site. But of course, the longer this procedure goes on, the less likely that we're going to find survivors. So unfortunately, this morning, we found an elderly woman who was buried under the rubble. So we're continuing with the efforts, but again, the Nigerian Society of Engineers have been drafted in this morning to have a look at the integrity of the buildings on the other side of where this incident occurred. And it turned out that the inhabitants were met yesterday, and we counseled them about the dangers of inhabiting or going into a structure that is deficient. Even though the old area has been cordoned off, and the Nigerian Army deployed 80 soldiers to site, and they manned the entire site for the past 24 hours. We found the same for the Nigerian police, the civil defense, and many other paramilitary organizations have come on board to assist us in securing the locations, and we've been counseling the residents about the need for us to do this meticulously, and even sieving areas that have been excavated to find out if there are body parts. So far, so good. We haven't gotten any.
So if we add the body discovered today to the figure from before now, we're looking at 4 bodies, right? It's either we're recording
4,
a miracle.
Yeah, 4.
Or it's either it's a miraculous record, or we're not doing a good job to identify and find these numbers with the magnitude of blast recorded in the battle.
I must confess that for me, it's a miracle, exactly what you called it, because I didn't expect that we're going to have this few number of fatalities. But this is actually the scenario that transpired. The blast started with a fire. And I think with a fire, a lot of the inhabitants in the neighborhood came out of their houses and actually ran away from the streets. And before the blast came on, which was a few minutes, it gave them enough time, some of them enough time to get out of the houses. In fact, the buildings, they didn't collapse at the same time. The woman that was, the corpse that was recovered today, she had actually helped her landlady, she's a carer, helped the landlady out, the woman with a fractured, tibia and fibula, and she came back into the house. And it was actually on getting out that there was the collapse of the segment of the building, and she sustained what we call an impalement injury. And so I think it was the scenario that triggered of many of them leaving the residence. It could have been worse. If it was later in the night, when people were asleep, it would have been a bigger disaster. But we thank God. So far, this is the fatality that we've recorded.
Professor Temitope Alonga is the head of the emergency medical team at UCH. Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Coming up on the news, this